Warm greetings, a very good evening, a warm welcome to everyone. It'd be lovely to hear where you're all joining from. I see it's welcome to Mauritius, but also London, US, and Italy. It'd be great to hear from you. I hope the translation is working, you can hear well. This subject, which I'm looking forward to churning together, maybe to start the process, sharing a couple of quotes. The first one, Napoleon Hill, he was saying that great achievement is usually born of great sacrifice and is never the result of selfishness. Interesting to see the relationship between sacrifice and selflessness. Second one, to get us churning on it, Charles de Boss said, the important thing is this, to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. So we have lots of tools to understand what we truly are and where we're coming from. So looking forward to opening up this subject and understand from Gyan the deeper meaning of this sacrifice. So handing over to Prashant, and good evening.
Hello and good evening. Yeah, very welcome to this gathering, and in this atmosphere, a great opportunity to discuss this subject of yajna, sacrificial fire. But before that, let us create a few minutes of attention. And our idea of attention necessarily means we use the best intellect. First step is that. Otherwise, it is like finding answers in darkness. And if we are going into light, we have the option to go into full light. If we are using paras, let it be 100%. And what do we see when we use full paras? We see that the whole physical world is not our world. Further, we see it as a theater. That's why we use the word drama. We understand the temporary nature of it. Everything is changing and going in front of our eyes, which is great. There is no problem there. That is the nature of this world. That includes this gathering, that includes Prashant. It is all part of this theater. With Paras, we are able to see the world beyond the theater. And this is like a strategic step. Stepping back and seeing this dimension beyond. And this is the world of silence. It is not just nice commentary. If we are using paras, we see this expanse of silence. There is no noise of the story. World that is timeless. For Paras, this is not a meditation. He is seeing the reality of this. World that is timeless. Timeless, changeless, endless. A step further, we engage with this world. Engage implies you are there. With eyes open, eyes closed, if possible, to get into this next step, where we engage in this world of silence. This dimension helps the true self to become conscious. That's why this is very important for us. It revives the soul. Otherwise, this obsession with the story suffocates the true self. It favors the ego. So here we are as if getting the breath. The invisible traveler wakes up, discovers he is the true self. For him, it is so normal to see his independence from the story. Independence means where the story is there and the story is not there. It is not his problem. What happens there? Someone jumps up, someone goes left, goes right. Not the slightest problem. The invisible traveler understands his independence. For him, it is normal to be like that presence or a tiny point. It appears normal, natural. It appears normal to belong to that sky, to belong to that supreme home. He is conscious. That is a huge thing. It is like someone wakes up. He doesn't need to be told to remember his parents or remember his family. He belongs here. He belongs to the Supreme Friend, Supreme Father. At this level, they all are alokik. They are not like the things in the story. These are beings of light, like tiny points. So also the Father, one who is the wisest, holiest, always Paras. Parasnath. He understands that everyone is like him. He knows this. He knows all are from this home. It is obvious and vivid for him. The invisible traveler, he also sees his true family. And true family, they all are divine royals. This is the only family. There is no family in the story. And this family is divine royals. All are beyond harm. All are immortal. All need nothing from anywhere. They need nothing from the three worlds. And nothing in the three worlds can harm them, even the slightest. That's why they are like royals and they're divine. They are free from Ravan, free from the demon. That's why divine. Nothing inauspicious at this level. All are worthy of immense love. They are lovely, loving, and lucky. All and always. All we have done is just use Paras, like one step. And this supreme dimension becomes our world. Here we are talking about the world of immortality, world of truth. This is not a story world, it's the real world. You are in truth, true self you have discovered. Until then, and everyone else a false notion, even of the self. They are either caught in the story, but even the notion of the self is false. So it is invisible, the truth. They have the world of immortality. They are with God, worthy to be loved by God. Their whole region is one of joy and love. The family, which is this civilization, these are the only ones they meet. Everyone at this level, they all are divine beings. And this extends beyond the human clan. So in other words, even animals, the souls, at this level, they are divine. They are eternal, and the original form is lovely and loving. So we literally discovered that world is positive. The universe is positive. And by the word universe, we are not talking about the story. All the astronomers, they are caught in their idea of universe is in the story universe, story world. When we are paras, we understand the real world. Story world is nice. There are so many stories. This is just another story. But in the real world, your universe is different. And your world is beautiful. Your universe is benevolent, beautiful, and positive forever. Like the biggest lottery anyone can think of. In this second, all you have done is use paras. As we go through our journey, even for the next hour, we have the option to repeatedly check if we are using paras. We have the option. When you have the option of paras, then things of the story, they become side scenes. There is no passion and emotions dealing with the story. Your heart is interested in the celestial celebration. Thank you. As always, we create little time. If you want to have any comments, any questions, feel free. And then we'll come to our discussion subject.
A general sense of orientation. I think this image of the invisible traveler getting breath back, because otherwise default is the drama-based occupation. So it's not going to happen passively. But the click, because this invisible traveler already feels independent, just like the guest in your house is already independent. So it's the opening up of that whole normality of that space. So it's just enjoying There's no other comments, questions right now.
Sure. No encouragement for more of you to come in the light and interact, and then it becomes more engaging.
There is one comment just dropped in the chat that we die as if we die every day because we go to sleep. It's like a complete letting go, and we wake up again. How, to what extent is that true?
The word "we" may not be accurate, appropriate, because the invisible traveler, he is immortal. The experiencer is immortal, and no one dies. But on the other hand, we also know that this world is changing every second. Things are changing. Our experiences begin and end. Because world is changing, and like this, just we gathering here, there was an experience of one kind. Suddenly this light can stop like this, and it starts again. So these are experiences. They come. Every experience begins and ends, and that is not dying. These are experiences. That is the nature of every experience. So also the sleep, and all this life also, is like a beginning of an experience and end of the experience. Then you go into another experience, a dream experience maybe. So I might not use the word we die for that. The experiencer, he continues. Excellent. So we'll come to the subject of today, and we'll be using the board. And the subject for us today is the sacrificial fire. It is such a beautiful word and beautiful concept. In the Sanskrit, there is the word yajna, translated as sacrificial fire. In the ancient India, the Vedic system was literally to have the yajnas. There are literally fires created, and there is they called it yajna. Yajna has very similar etymology as Latin word Ignacio, ignition, English, and ignite. That is some similarity, and yajna just means fire. And Sanskrit. But that particular word, yajna, is used in the context of the specific ritual and ceremony behind it. In the Vedic thinking, if someone sacrifices things, you receive the return of it in a much bigger way. There is a great value given to donation. You donate, give someone things, it has got a return. We have spoken various times, law of karma. So if you give something, there is a return, it comes back to you. You give happiness, it will come back to you. We know this, it happens sometimes straight away. You give food, you give some health to others, give education, everything has its return. but sacrifice is seen as higher in the Vedic thinking. And it is done in a systematic way. So, the scholars, it is not anyone can just create a fire and sacrifice. That is not the Vedic system. There are scholars, pundits, priests, they all come, they organize it, they choose the right time, in their celestial, the position of the stars. And that time the yagya starts. And the landlord, one person has to take the responsibility for it. He is responsible. He knows there is expense involved to create a yagya, at least the Vedic style yagya. Do you need certain grains and seeds and all of this to be sacrificed? It is all going into the fire. And whatever he sacrifices, he knows that he will get a return of it manyfold, thousandfold, 100,000-fold during rest of the life, rest of the year. And that's with that understanding, he does this yagya. And it might take 7 days, 14 days. They know beforehand what kind of yagya they are doing. And it is continuous sacrifice. Continuously, they keep the fire going. And some chanting going on. Those who are involved in it, they all have to lead a certain life, clean life, disciplined life, pure life. They got certain structure to follow. So as we said, they all know, if you start a yagya, complete the yagya, then you may become a king even in the same life. This kind of understanding is there in them. Now on the last day of the yagya, he opens the yagya to the town. He has got things to sacrifice, he's all prepared for it, but it is like opportunities given to the town. And the town people can come and they can sacrifice what they like. And one might bring a handful of grains, someone might bring a handful of seeds of some kind, whatever they can afford, they bring, and they put one handful of grains in that fire. And they know, they are doing this because they will get a return of it during the year. They will not be hungry during the year. So they know this. Some might come and bring a sack full of grains. It is each one's. How big is the heart? Then accordingly is their return. So some might come and put some gold in that fire. Some might come and put all of their gold in that fire. Each one's, how big is the heart? What can you renounce? That is the question for each one. And they accordingly, they get a return principle. When I was maybe 12 years of age, I was in India. And at one time there was a drought in part of India. And there was a discussion in the newspapers at that time. There was a discussion about how to solve this. And some scholars, Vedic scholars, they said, if we start yagya for 14 days, then on such and such a day, the rain will come and things can change. And there was criticism about this. And there is already hunger here, and these people want to burn the grains. How silly. There was that kind of opinion in the media. And I remember even our family thought that way. There were criticism about this idea of starting a yagya. But these Pandits, they were so determined, they went ahead with their yajna, and it continued. 14 days, it continued. On the 14th day, as they expected and as they promised, there was rain out of season, and rain continued for the rest of the season. And everyone had to see and watch what is going on here. That made me realize that there is some truth in this. This whole concept, the Vedic concept of sacrifice, some system that continues for thousands of years. It can't be completely empty. There has to be some results. That's why its system continued. We also use this word, yajna. We also use the word sacrificial fire. But there is an extra part that we use. And what is that extra part? What do you say? Do you want to tell? We say sacrificial fire of knowledge. The extra part is the knowledge. The larger expression for this is in Rudra. Rudra is the name for God. Rudra Gyan, knowledge of God. So it is a sacrificial fire, based on the knowledge of God. So there is no physical fire, but the fire of knowledge. So we don't need to burn the grains, but something get burned, but in the fire of knowledge. And it is to attain self-sovereignty. This word can be understood at many levels, inner self-sovereignty, but also outer reward also, the kingdom. And in which you have to sacrifice Ashwamedh, which is horse, you have to sacrifice the horse, implied body consciousness. Everything around the body consciousness has to be sacrificed. So this is a concept, broader concept. Avinashi Rajyasva Ashwamedha Rudra Jnana Yajna. That is the expression. But enough for us to understand. It is the sacrificial fire of knowledge. And in this fire, something has to be sacrificed. That is body consciousness, not anything physically. We don't have to create fire and sacrifice, but body consciousness has to be sacrificed. And the return of that is the kingdom, self-sovereignty. Any thoughts, any comments? And Sarah, want to add anything?
Yes, I really like the orientation in the context, because it's not the culture that was brought up in. On reflecting on this, just while we're waiting for others to share, it clicked at some point, and maybe you'd like to clarify on it, that this body conscious sacrifice appears to be an opportunity to give that which is a way illegal, because we've taken claim on something that's not mine. So the body consciousness is claiming something in a temporary story. So it in my mind was likened to like an amnesty, and the most common amnesty we hear about is weapons, and it's a safe space where those who are harboring weapons can donate them, give them, and they are not penalized. They may be illegal weapons, but nobody says anything. It's anonymous, and that way the whole culture is made safer, and it creates a momentum as well, because more and more come, and you end up with a big pile. Often it's gun amnesty. So in a way, it feels a bit like that. The body consciousness, it starts the process. It makes society safer, and the Baba's creating a safe place to do that. But if we don't do it now, then later the law will punish us for keeping what is not ours or what is not legal. So that's a sort of a way that I'm sort of making sense of it. But if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah, sure. We will be coming to that subject in some detail. We'll come to this as we go further.
So there aren't any other consequences.
Yeah.
Still thinking about consequences. There aren't any other comments right now.
Yeah. Okay. So we have seen in our discussion in the past and in our practice, what we practiced at the beginning, that we have our home, and here is the invisible traveler, and he has his family. Here his father is in this world. This is a complete world. And then he's given this great gift. Anyone, if you want to, whether you buy a story book to the child or show a film of some story, it is a gift. It is not part of his world. You are giving a gift. He experiences a story for 15 minutes and then he comes back home. So also here, this is a gift that is given to this invisible player. What has happened? Things have gone badly wrong. And in what way it has gone badly wrong? The invisible player gets so impressed with this gift that he's given that he sacrifices himself. He has sacrificed himself to this gift here. That is what has happened. He doesn't even exist right now. He has become unconscious. There is one dish in Turkey, possibly you know the name better, Imam Baldi. Pronunciation may be slightly different. And it means the dish was so delicious, Imam fainted. That is the name of the dish. Imam fainted. So it is something so delightful that someone becomes unconscious out of delight. And there are some expressions like this in different, someone dies of chocolate, this kind of thing. And that's the expression. Now this is what has happened here. In this case, this is the Imam. So he's given this gift. It is a very, very impressive story. Agreed. Story. Just look out the window and see the wonder. It is all story world, and see how detailed attention is given to this. So this gift is given, and this, yes, death by chocolate. So this invisible Imam has fainted, is sacrificed, can't handle this gift. And when he becomes unconscious, the ego has become conscious. And this is like the worst thing that can happen to anyone. It is like the worst omens. Ego is demonic in nature. Soul is angelic. It is like a naturally divine soul. That's why we were saying our world is positive and benevolent and beautiful. But once we have crossed this line into ignorance, ego is innately demonic, innately into some kind of sorrow, confusion. It is a product of confusion. But we said it's are bad omens for the soul. But this ego is stubborn. You can't easily come out of this. Ego will give anything to survive and holds you in this state of ignorance. Now, there are many people who may know wonderful things. They agree with the ideas, but change doesn't happen because ego is there and ego is stubborn. Ego wants to survive. Ego can adapt. It can create new kinds of ego in some form, but holds you in that pot. So this is the state that everyone is in. In other words, we have sacrificed, into ignorance. We have gone into the fire of ignorance. And these different fires of lust and fires of greed and fires, these are all fires. These excitements that come and passions that come, these are all fires. They have taken us into this deeper end of ignorance, this spiral. Fire is necessary to feed that ego. Fire is necessary. Any head of Ravan gets bigger only with the fire. If that intoxication and excitement, if that was not there, the ego will not get bigger. Anytime you discover this world, you are excited about things, know that there is some impurity getting worse. It is growing underneath. Sacrifice is going on, and Ravan is sacrificing the soul, and in this fire of excitement. Just going into little detail. But anyone want to add anything at this point? Concepts are okay. I'm presuming everyone have done the basic sessions of Sanjeevani, and so just going a step further. If we are to see what has happened, if an expert was to come and see what has happened to the planet Earth, what will he see? He will see that these invisible players, their world is positive and benevolent. They are so lucky. But right now, they are into ignorance. That is one problem. Fire of ignorance. That is ignorance. Second problem, they have become unconscious. Imam has fainted. Imam Baldi. So these invisible players, they are unconscious. They are completely trapped in this web, in this zombie state. They create bondage and bondage into that story world. So different kinds of bondages, they're trapped. So bondage and they're trapped. All these are serious things. If your friend was into some kind of confusion, you will be worried. If he was unconscious, you will be worried. If he's trapped, you will be worried. And what is the next problem with this invisible player? Do you want to tell? If you are asked, you are an expert, and a president asks you to tell me what is happening to the planet, and you give the report. Good. Yes.
Ego rules. Yeah.
Ego is ruling. In this case, the enemy, and the enemy is the ego. he has become your master. He is ruling your mind and your life. Can you imagine? Your worst enemy, imagine some worst enemy of your, some terrorist. They take over your town, your country, and ruling. And they are not concerned about your welfare, your progress, education. They are, like behave like, they're terrorists. They are there to destroy. In this case, the enemy is the ego, and ego has got his own agenda, and based on his confusion. Many people use this word ego, pretend lightly. No, ego is embodiment of ignorance, embodiment of bondage, and he is embodiment of being a victim. So his mindset is of a victim, potential victim. So some kind of sorrow is guaranteed if ego is there. Embodiment means he's inside out, in ignorance, inside out, in bondage, is based on story. That's why he's fully into bondage. And from the beginning till the end is a victim. So sorrows of the victim or excitements. Now and then someone praises him, victim gives him some temporary security. It is like he's excited, happy. So happiness also is of the victim, and sorrows are of the victim. He is ruling the mind, and this angelic soul is zombie, is unconscious. This is the present state of affairs. So we said, this another yajna has been going on. Ravan's yajna, sacrificial fire. And Ravan has been sacrificing these angelic souls in this fire of agyan, fire of ignorance. And there are many fires, fires of greed and fires of lust, fires of just like some excitement of drugs and fires of attachments. These are all fires, Ravan's fires. And this yajna has been going on for a long time, from the beginning of the Copper Age. So now you understand, what is the context. In this context, you understand it is like a necessity for us to bring in the light of knowledge in this. It is necessary to deal with this ignorance and ego's stubbornness in that ignorance and madness of Ravan. To counteract all this, we need knowledge. Just not some points here or there. We need to live in knowledge. The invisible soul, like during the minutes we practiced, right at the beginning, we saw the experience, what the invisible traveler is experiencing. We saw his life, his happiness, his intoxication, his lucky. He has got at every level the best. Then it is fire. If you are experiencing it, maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for half a minute, if you are experiencing the wonder of that dimension, we said life with God and life where there is no harm, nothing can harm you, all lovely and loving. If that is happening, if you are seeing it, then it is a fire. Then it is fire of knowledge. Not just a point, not here, there. That is not fire. Now, in this fire of knowledge, the enemy, all these different ego that are created here, they appear absurd. Just as, if you were told someone is attached to Harry Potter, it appears absurd. No? Someone is planning to writing a letter to Tarzan, you will say this person is a bit silly, or created the ego that he is the Tarzan. Then it appears absurd. But same is happening here. We are doing exactly the same thing, just that we don't think it is absurd when we are ourselves into unconscious state. For ego, it is completely normal to see himself as by the role. That is completely normal for ego. But if you create the fire of knowledge, if you are seeing it in full light, full clarity, you are understanding the absurdity. During those minutes, during those seconds, minutes, you will see how absurd to create any bondage, any kind of bondage in this world of Tarzan. See it as a world of Tarzan, and Jane, and a lots going on in that. Yeah. Extended Tarzan performance that is going on, and am I getting deceived? Am I getting trapped in this? Am I creating bondage? In the light of knowledge, that will appear absurd. And if that is what is happening, it also means these ego are dissolving. They are becoming weaker. Every minute you are seeing the absurdity of it. They are becoming weaker. Superficially, you are saying knowledge, reading knowledge, but you are not seeing anything wrong there. Then it means there is no fire of knowledge. Fire of knowledge in that this disappears. So in other yajna, sacrificial fires, they sacrifice grains and seeds and gold. In this yajna, in this sacrificial fire, our aim is to sacrifice what? We want to sacrifice ignorance. We want to sacrifice different bondages. They are in the form of mind. No one else is holding us. There is a big web, the Ravan's web, but no one is holding us. Web is not holding us. We are holding the web. So that is the absurdity of the whole thing. So in the light of knowledge, you are seeing how absurd to claim anything within this story. That this is mine and this one is mine and this, you are becoming free from that. That clarity comes maybe 4 or 5 minutes. You are seeing it this way. Your realization comes. Maybe you lose it afterwards. Maybe you write it down. These are all good things, but guaranteed the power of that bondage will become weaker. Very fact that you brought light, it becomes weaker. And if you are consistent, create light again and again, then they will disappear. Those bondages will disappear. But our big success is in dissolving this ego. That is a big success. Same method is the same. We are using the light of knowledge, the fire of knowledge. It is like an intoxication, it makes it fire. But intoxication based on the alokik. Intoxication not based upon your promotion or that you got a bargain, in shopping. And that is not the reason for intoxication. or someone is praising something, it can come. The praise will come and some intoxication will come. But know that this is Ravan's intoxication. Something may be very tamopradhan, intoxication based on attachments, lust. These are tamopradhan. But even if you are avoiding them, there's some other intoxication can come. Intoxication from food. These are all fires. And then these Ravan's fires take another kind of fire of anger and fire of jealousies. They are then a result of the Ravans. But here, these are in our hands, not to feed Ravan further. That is in our hands, and this will happen if we cross the line. It just means there is confusion. There is nothing to justify there. Just means light is less and ego is still dominant, and something has to be done about this. Just don't know this. It is like a straightforward equation. This ego is dominant, and we have to go back to the drawing board and see how I can create more light, more consistent, how to block these Ravan's departments. And as you stop this, Ravan, then you're very, very lucky. This yajna brings self-sovereignty. And the ordinary yajna brings prizes. They just sacrifice grains and seeds and they get a reward. In this yajna, it's a big reward. You create heaven. This kind of yajna, if you are sacrificing the whole ignorance and ego and Ravan, this is all going in this fire of knowledge. And then the world has to change. The face of planet Earth has to change to give you the reward. Golden Age is not the extension of this world. This is Iron Age world. But your prize is such that the face of the planet has to change to give you the reward, and that too for a long time. That's why it is like a big prize, big fire, and big sacrifice, or more accurately, subtle sacrifice. You'd like to add anything? Say anything?
Very nice, thank you. It's like still reflecting on what has just been shared. I was just thinking how we move from the tamopradhan intoxication of the obvious vices to maybe a more sattva intoxication until we realize and refine and grasp through paras the subtlety and are more stable in that. So we just, the question that's come is the refinement where we really need to discern, I think, say, for example, happiness from drama-based visible contribution. I'm trying to avoid the word service because that true service is being beyond. So we need to refine, and anything you'd like to say about the situations which we may inadvertently be feeding Krav and spotting them.
Yes, and the best policy here, whenever there is doubt, whenever you may be going in a wrong direction, this is, as you are saying here, it is not tamopradhan, fire, it is not tamopradhan Ravan, but still Ravan. And if I were even doubt there, come in the fire of knowledge. Bring the best intellect, bring light, see the perspective of the soul. Let the invisible traveler, be conscious, let him see in full light, let him see these things. And then you're changed. It is a game of a second. The more you are playing with it, it will become, instead of analyzing things in the darkness, just bring the full light that second, and then the game changed. And in that full light, you are also able to discriminate better. In darkness, discrimination may not be completely right.
So assume that it's become mixed when anyway the solution is to come into full light. Yeah. One comment, the absurdity becomes more apparent with sorrow and suffering, which may be something that we've all had experience with. How methods to keep the fire alive at a different level, so we don't go for this the ego instinct, that we keep the fire alive. Any comments on that?
If there is the intoxication, and that is like it becomes interesting for you. If there is happiness, intoxication, sense of wonder, sense of achievement, sense of benevolence, these are all very powerful motivators, and all of them are here. People like to do things. They may be lazy, but someone is falling, they will go, they will run to help the person. Otherwise, he's lazy. He won't do his work. But if he can be useful, he will do things. So also here, we need to start the process, come into this, fires, experiences, and that keeps the enthusiasm going. Those experiences, that is the most powerful and most effective one. But creating a program, some structure, and where you got every 2 hours, every hour, you got a program. This is also very, very effective. If there is a company, people around you, that is also very, very effective. Having said all this, know also that Paras has to become stronger to maintain this. You can't run a marathon on the first day, but as the muscles become stronger, then you will run a marathon one day, but you have to build the muscles. So also here, with the Paras that is not strong, it may not be continuous on the first day. Great celebration if that happens, but if it doesn't happen, not to get disappointed, to understand that, okay, I have to build the muscles, and every minute I'm doing this, I'm progressing. Create another minute and another minute. It is a victory.
That seems to be a key to celebrate the incremental shifts and use that as beginning of a momentum, which counters the Maya that comes and tries to merge your first flames. She's very good, as you were saying earlier, very vivid. Ravan is sacrificing the soul in fire of excitement. So Maya is constantly looking for some fire and putting it out. So we need to be very attuned to these small victories at the beginning and also during, to sustain. So sometimes structure feels like a key to at least keep in check perhaps the incremental realizations and small victories, to acknowledge them, to join up the dots and to make them stronger. But it's like not to be disciplinarian, you know, it's also wants to be, try to get into that, it's natural also. I'm just sharing, I don't think there's a question. So any other questions that come, feel free to share. People are more commenting, but one has come through. Would spinning the cycle be a key component in ignoring, fanning and maintaining this fire? So maybe they meant igniting, fanning and maintaining. Yeah, no ignoring.
You know, the formula that we have discussed in the past, especially when we are discussing the story of Sita, we say that keep the mind busy with Ram. That is our program. If we are keeping the mind busy with Ram, then Ravan cannot use the mind. That is a big weapon for success. Idle mind is the devil's workshop. So full intoxication is great, but semi-intoxication coming from Ram, that is better. That is also fire. So if you are spinning the cycle, it may not be creating the full intoxication, but mind is kept busy with knowledge, churning knowledge, thinking about different aspects, churning, reading, having company of fathers, seeing others as souls, playing with it, getting involved in service, planning service. All of that is like unmanapal. You are using the mind for Ram. And it also means demon cannot use the mind. He's getting weaker. Semi-intoxication of Ravan is also fire. To know that also, and to understand the game, we can be big winners if the most sensible person is the one who stops all kinds of Ravan's departments. Is the most sensible. Anytime you cross the line, just know, acknowledge that this is madness of Ravan, and it has to be stopped. Whatever that it might mean, we may have to create disciplines, you may have to take big steps, but Ravan's department need to be stopped. This fire of knowledge is a powerful way to dissolve Ravan. Let us create. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's clear. Just maybe one question. It's quite a simple one, but would you say the motivation is always happiness, whether it be in confusion or in clarity?
The powerful motivation. People do everything for happiness. Right now, if we will be having a break, and you are thinking whether to turn left or right, which side we should turn, you will choose the direction that will make you happy. Whatever, some place where there is some garden, flowers, you will go in that direction rather than some place which is not so pleasant. All the time, our guiding principle is we are looking for happiness. And since that is the case, let us make this higher happiness and available to us. You have to offer the spiritual happiness to the soul, and that will help in a nice way. Otherwise, Ravan will bring some chutney of some kind. So let us create another few minutes of the supreme Paramatam happiness. And in this, we are understanding here is a theater. And what we saw from morning till now is a grand performance. And the invisible actor chooses to step behind. Theater is going on. The invisible actor chooses to step behind. Very interested in his home of mommy and daddy. And very happy to discover that there is this world of complete silence. Very happy to discover this world of complete simplicity. You know, on the stage, there is so much clutter and so much going on. Behind is the world of simplicity. For example, on the stage, you need turbans and hats and crowns and beards and masks. Behind in the home, you don't need any of these things. He's very happy to see himself as a point. Doesn't need even the body. It is all required for the theater. Very happy to see his true family, experience the sweetness of this family. These are those whom we knew for eternity. True family. We experience the sweetness. They all play different parts. Right now, they are playing parts. Some are playing the parts of maybe kings, commanders. They are playing parts on the stage. But behind, they are like tiny points. They are very happy to be those points and very happy to be in this family. We discover that this world is secure. We are very happy to discover the immortality of this world. On the stage, that drama, different episodes begin and end, and this world is eternal. Very happy to discover this. Very happy to discover this is the world with God, supreme friend. Also in the image of a tiny point. He is the wisest. What makes him the wisest? He also plays a part on the stage. He plays the part of God. He is praised and worshipped everywhere. Hero actor, that's the part he plays. Creates heaven. Frees the whole world from this Ravan's bondage and fires of ego. Frees the whole world from this liberation and liberation in life. Plays a huge part. But that is all on the stage and performance. Behind the stage, he sees himself as a point. He knows He is like everyone else. He knows it in a deep level. He is not deceived by the drama and the part. That's why he is the wisest. We realize the beautiful option to step behind and understand this beautiful secret and not be deceived when we come back on the stage, play the part, not be deceived, be sensible. Thank you. So it will be time for rooms or discussions. Meet after the rooms.
Yes, thank you. It would be nice if you would like to share from your perspective a question which might spark the fire of discussion. Channing?
There's two questions. One is, what are the fires of Ravan that you notice in your town? Are there any fires of Ravan? And what does fire of knowledge mean to you?
That makes sense. Right, just put that in the chat. And we will meet in rooms.
It's like there's some landlords start the other yagyas. You know, has Ravan started a yagya in your town? That's the question. Have you noticed any yagyas from Ravan?
I think it would be easier to ask it the other way around. Are there any Raven-free places? Yes. Okay, so it's clear, and we'll meet in rooms. See you back in just over 10 minutes. Thank you. Hello, warm welcome back. Nice to see you all this continued session. So invitation just to kind of fan the flames of this subtlety of yoga together for 1 minute before we continue. Thank you. And this will be a nice chance to come to Israel and hear some thoughts on what's been reflected on this subject from Sanjay. So welcome. And I think quite late in the evening. So it's before nighttime reflections. Hi.
Well, thank you. It was a lovely discussion, and I will share a bit what I shared in the room. The word sacrificing means, in a way, that you have to give up some things, meaning you have less of what you gave up. And Ravan hates this. Ego and Maya won't let you give up anything they like, and they will hold it as much as possible, not letting you give this up. So recently, last few years, Sanjay became, because of events in the drama, a central point of a computer system in a big insurance company. And he became a focal point. Everyone came to him, asking him, challenging him. He became important to the company, to this system. And ego and Maya invisibly start growing inside in a way that when other members, new members came into the team, not knowing that system, and start doing to the kind of damaging to the system, it was like someone doing damage to Sanjay. It felt a bit like this. So, what to do? Knowing this beautiful knowledge from this powerful Baba, as Prashant was saying, just by knowing it's not enough. You have to use it's a tool, and we all are looking for happiness, as was said before. So that temporary happiness coming from Sanjay being a central point got lost because the thing that was dear to him get damaged. What to do? So the thing is very obvious, right? So all of us knowing the basic knowledge. We are souls, eternal souls. This is a story, just a story. Everyone play their part. Sanjay is playing his part, and suddenly found himself identifying with a part. Silly, so ridiculous. Those words are used here very much. So just to get that perspective again and again, spinning it into the intellect and the mind, and starting get out of that danger of becoming sorry or having a kind of pain. So silly. It's just a story. It's just a piece of software that what? So awakening for this one, for Sanjay, just to see that even if you know, and Sanjay knows knowledge 25 years now, even when you know, you think you know, still the ego and Maya finds their way to creep in, and you have to stay alert all the time. As was mentioned, planning, have a plan, 2 hours, every 1 hour, every 3, whatever, have a plan. Make your mind and intellect busy with Ram. So this is the big conclusion of that accident, I would call it, in the drama. So thank you for the opportunity again to share.
Thank you, Sanjay, for sharing. And it helps everyone when we share the experiences that are practical and honest. I think sometimes as well we get more sensitive that perhaps it could have happened, but in the past without moved through with knowledge, those things might not have stood out, but the fact it stood out is a sign of that, this has to go. And so that's also a fire, isn't it? Determination to not go there, and seeing the absurdity, that came through as well. So that's very helpful. Thank you. So let's see, Prashant will, I'm sure, have reflected a bit more also and have more to share. A couple of questions have come in, but handing over to you, right to.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And at the beginning, when Sarah was reading some quotations, you get an idea. Even the Lockic people, Napoleon Hill, these are not with knowledge. These are people from the world, and they are talking about the value of renunciation. That you get success when there is renunciation. What happens at a deep level? You are renouncing Ravan. It appears as if someone is renouncing, even in a limited way, someone is renouncing something. What we are really at is demon has to be out of the system. And that is great intelligence if someone is thinking that way. In the present, he gets the prize. In the future, he is lucky at all levels. One who works for demon, he cannot be lucky in the future. He thinks he gets some Ravan's excitements, but he becomes unlucky. The principle is just this. Now, if you take it further, what if I want to go for the full prize? What is it that I have to renounce? What will you answer? If I want a full prize, A1, who wants number 1 prize? If it is offered, Baba was to say, And who wants #1 prize? And okay, you raise your hands. What will you do? What has to be? The game is around here. Renunciation, that is where the game is. What will you renounce? What should be renounced? And at this stage, even let us try and understand it, and then let us use the powers. What needs to be used to achieve it? If someone wants A1 prize, what should he be doing?
So renouncing Ravan or body consciousness, they're quite general.
Yeah, at a practical level, what will you be doing? We agree Ravan has to be renounced, but how do you renounce Ravan?
Laziness, carelessness, renouncing waste, yeah, putting full stop.
Sure.
San also add keeping mind busy, yeah. Story, maybe the keeping knowledge of story in front, focusing on perfect form.
Good. Answers are all very good answers, but the feeling that with which I was seeing, this entire world that you see in front of your eyes, this is not our world. This whole thing that includes Prashantos. What you said, story, and that is true. But story means everything that people are talking about and you've been thinking about. It is all this. You are coming to realize that this is not our world, that our world is alaukic, and we ourselves are alaukic. This is, you are waking up to this. When we say invisible player is the invisible prince. He is in the present, very, very lucky. He is immensely loved by the King of Kings. And everything is best for him, around him. But not in the story. Story is not his world. His world is alaukic. And he understands this whole physical world is through the knowledge, in the light of knowledge, as if it exists, doesn't exist, he remains free from it. He doesn't need to think of it, he doesn't need to, right now, that is not urgent, that is not his mission to solve anything in that story. Try and grasp this. That we need to stretch our intellect, but we've all got unlimited intellect and broad intellect. And this whole story that appears so big, but it is a story. Make it small. And for the invisible player, the world beyond the story is his world, and that is where his family is. Even in the story, his interest is just because his brothers are involved in this, and they are into that ignorance, and they are trapped in it, and they are unconscious. Their enemy is harassing our brothers. That is why he comes in that story world. Not because story will give him something. Not because the fires of Ravan, that is not a reason he's going in the story. He's going in the story for the rescue. That is why. Just like Baba. Baba is focused. Baba has no interest in the story. He's not here to eat. He's here to serve and freedom and focused. We use the expression invisible traveler is the invisible incarnate. His attitude is of an incarnate when he comes here. Incarnates are focused, they got a very clear duty, what they want to do. And every thought is for the task. And that is a good position. But here, this invisible incarnate, he has zero interest in the world beyond that his task. He sees that entire story world as if it is a world of dolls. It could be anything. Story is story. World of dolls. He has no interest. If that position is held, even for a few minutes, you are very, very lucky. You will be lucky at all levels. It is like an upward spiral. Worth holding on to this word, invisible incarnate. And that perspective for a few minutes even. That invisible incarnate is absolutely taking benefit of this Rudra Jnana Yajna. Very happy to take the questions.
Thank you. So a question I'll just read from here. I think you are discussing this, but maybe if you want to kind of further clarify or expand on it. So Baba gives importance to service, to give knowledge and show the path. But this is still in the drama. So Baba does come in the drama to give knowledge. If we were all out of the drama, what's the purpose of Baba's task? So you were kind of saying the incarnate comes for that. So in a way that seems to answer the question, but
I was happy to clarify. What our aim is, not to be deceived by the drama. That is the difference. To come in the drama, to interact in the drama, to act, and that is what most of our life is. But whilst being there, not to be deceived. That's why, as Sarah was saying, attitude of the incarnate. Incarnate is going there, but he is not going there for holiday. He has gone there for a very clear mission. The moment he finishes, he's out of it. That is exactly Baba's position also.
That's very helpful, actually, as a check-in, isn't it, in terms of thoughts, because that incarnate could come and there could be that clarity, but at the moment there's hanging around to take the pleasure of seeing the task going well, that's like potentially crossing the line, if you see what I mean, because then it's the familiarity and the claiming and the identifying can creep in. It's like a familiarity. But it's nice, at least the concept is to get the fragrance of the incarnate.
Yeah, and once you are hanging around, you cross the line and you create ego there and you create attachments, then it doesn't appear like independence. The invisible incarnate is independent. So the story is there, story finishes. As we were saying before, someone turns left, someone goes right, someone jumps up, someone jumps down. Nothing disturbs you. That means you are independent. And that is the space Baba wants us to be. There is no reason story should be disturbing anyone. But when there is deception, when the invisible prince is deceived, we saw different levels, ignorance, bondage, becoming unconscious, enemy coming in. When he is heavily deceived, he doesn't even know that he is deceived. Then the story bothers him. And that is where it's the wrong position. And so Baba tells us, step out of this, come right out. So once you are completely free, then come as an incarnate. Let us know if it is clear. These are important areas, and I like the question.
Yeah, feel free to type. I mean, what comes up here is this, it's so helpful. It's so black and white. The thought that comes is, whilst we're in this process of discriminating, becoming firm, as you said, it doesn't happen overnight. There feels a need for lightness and a sort of, but the lightness can turn into another fire. That's the issue. If it's lightness, so I think the answer is to have, at least if there's an instrument who is orientating the service, if we're talking in this context. I remember there was a celebration, it was in Cambridge, of something like 20 years celebration, and at the time you were a little bit resistant to celebrate because it's like 20 years of celebrating the rescue mission on a sinking boat. It didn't really feel, and it was interesting to observe that resistance, because it seemed like it was out of place. But sometimes those things do service because it creates enthusiasm and aligns. So it's just an observation, and the question is, what's the role of lightness? And yeah, if anything you want to say about that.
Yes, as was said, lightness is nice, and as long as it doesn't become another fire, and as long as we are still aware of our mission and urgency, the boat is sinking, as long as we are oriented to that and not lost sight of the positioning itself, then it is all good. The A1 always is this alaukic journey that itself creates lightness also. When there is a happiness and achievement, that itself creates lightness. If it is in the right position, when we are in the right position, then it creates lightness. When it goes in the wrong position, Ravan's position comes in, then Ravan needs lightness from time to time. Ravan feels heavy.
I'm thinking, yeah, it's a release, but not quite. We haven't got to the Sato-Pradhan part yet. A question here. I know we're coming up to time, and we will be coming to Madhaban or drill very soon. But this question may be interesting also. Baba says, if you renounce and sacrifice body consciousness, you will get 21 births of happiness in the drama. So, in heaven. So it's still a motivation which is drama based. So anything
even though that language may be used, or it appears like that in the drama, there's 21 births of reward is alaukic. That they are soul conscious during those 21 births. They are very much connected to the alaukic prize. That is what matters. Sometimes the impression, we get an impression as if it is golden palaces or something like that. That is partly because when the message is heard by in the early stages, we are not fully Parasnath, we are operating with Patthar, that that language, we understand. That's why golden age, paradise, they will draw images, they do the painting of golden palaces. But what Baba says, golden age, they are soul conscious. The whole emphasis, what Baba is teaching, becomes soul conscious. When you are soul conscious, you are connected to the alaukic treasures. And there is no comparison. When you have got the alaukic treasures, of course, at a physical level also, it's a reflection. What happens at a deeper level, it is reflected at a physical level. But things come and go. In the golden age also, people die and people, but there's no sorrow there. Things come and go. There is no concern, not 1 second of sorrow, which means they were not, their happiness was not based on the physical. It was based on the alaukic.
Yeah, thank you. Very clear. Very helpful as well. We can kind of keep in mind the perspective when we're listening to the Murli, what's listening and are we understanding the context and subtlety, which is another layer, isn't it? We come to time, but I have a couple of questions which have come in, which may be quite simple. Are you happy to take them? Invisible traveler. Is this correct? This statement, the invisible traveler is the better me guiding me through my journey upwards.
Yeah.
So that was easy one. Is it knowledge or yoga that brings the shift to stay beyond?
Yoga. I would not dismiss knowledge, but knowledge should, when you put knowledge into practice, come into experience, then we call it yoga. You have understood, understanding is the important part. Without understanding, you can't be practicing. But Baba emphasizes the aspect of yoga.
Yeah. I was drawing it in my notebook the other day. It feels like knowledge is the scaffolding and the structure. And yoga is the coloring in to make it a reality. But we then also need to bring knowledge to make sure that it's accurate and it continues a sort of complementary, sort of refining. That's so as. Thank you. So anything final you want to share, Prashant? That would be a kind of a notional homework.
This image of the invisible incarnate, that will be a very good image, because this invisible incarnate, he has no interest in the entire story world. He is focused. He's involved very much here, but he is focused. He's very fond of alaukic world. So to play with it, to try and grasp this perspective. Even here right now, Prashant is talking, but Prashant is not the invisible incarnate. Whilst the words are spoken here, but we are grasping the perspective of the invisible incarnate. He is having that natural attitude. He takes the full benefit of Rudra Jnana Yajna. So it is worth playing with it for 1 minute, 2 minutes. He's very fond of the alaukic world. He has natural intoxication of his life, but based on the sky. Yeah, so this is a nice homework for us.
Thank you. And we just popped in a link to the recordings, and also any other questions, we can continue the conversation tomorrow. Thank you so much. We'll finish with a drill from Madhavan. We'll see you tomorrow. Shanti. Least had the expectation we'd be having a drill from Madhavan, but that didn't work. So we can try one more time. Om Shanti. No, that's not working. Om Shanti. We might have to wait for this transmission from Madhavan, and we'll maybe finish with a few moments of silence. Thank you all.